Hello folks, how you doing? It's Descattys. This is just a follow on from the in my lightweight series, my kind of my take on Nesmuck, obviously calling it Desmuck. And I've had some questions from people asking me about what I thought of the ground sheet, what I thought of the mat, and so on and so forth, and what weights were of certain things. So what I want to do in this video really is just kind of just discuss some of them things and some of my findings that I had. All right, so stay with us and we'll see how we get on with that one. Right, so just get straight on to it then. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the OEX tarp. Some people have been asking me about length and stuff like that. Now, I'm 6'3" in height, and it seems to accommodate me quite well. I've only used it a few times of yet. I haven't used it in the rain as such, not a real good downpour. But I reckon it'll fare up. I think the one thing that does it for me with this tarp is the fact that, all right, yeah, it's nice and compact. The weight of it is, the weight, I can't remember now. You'll have to have a look at the previous video. But, it's still, for me, it's a nice compact system. And this is something that I was talking about before, is that I'm not necessarily worried too much. I mean, obviously I am worried about the weight, but also I'm worried about the compactness because I'm trying to stick to the parameters of using my my stubborn rucksack. Okay, so yeah, the tie-off points are good on it. What I have done though, on the corner points and the ones where there's a brass eyelet, I've actually attached just another little length of paracord, because at the moment the tarp's still quite new and the tapes at the end are a little bit fiddly. They're obviously quite flat, they're quite pressed against each other, the material. So rather than arsing about, literally what I've done is I've just put about 1.5 inches or so of paracord on the end of the tab, and then literally I can just drive my peg straight into the end of the paracord and drive it into the ground. So that kind of works for me. So that's the OEX Bush Pro. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I might just do a quick update on it just to let you know how it's been going for me. Or here's an idea: go out and buy one yourself and go out and experience it for yourself, good or bad. Yeah. Okay. So that's the OEX tarp. Right. So the ground sheet that I bought. I haven't used the ground sheet in years. I always literally will put my tarp up and then stick my bivy bag down, and that's it. That's me. And then what I do is I'll put a mat down just to lay some other bits and pieces on, just to keep him off the ground, off the wet ground or whatever. But otherwise, I never used to worry with a ground sheet. But as of late, I've been thinking, yeah, I think I might go for one. I know a few of the guys that I go camping with use one. They use them for obviously protecting their gear off the ground, but also it acts as a little bit of an insulation as well on top of all the other stuff that you're using. So when I was hunting around, I actually purchased this one, and I didn't even know it was a Rab. I mean, Rab's a very good make here in the UK, and nylon ground sheet, and this weighs in at 296 grams. It's nice and flat and compact. I literally just slide it into the front of my rucksack, and it don't take up no room at all. So I'm quite pleased with that. It's got 4 peg out points at each corner, just 4 little tabs. Stick your pegs in just to keep it sort of square and straight and laid out. Excuse me. And that's all there is to it, and it worked really fine. When I first put it down, it was on wet ground, and it kind of reminded me of like one of those kind of footprint kind of materials that you get on some of these tents these days. And I don't think that a lot of them are that good. They seem to condensate on the inside when you've got your sleeping mat down or something else, which is something that I experienced in the past. But I was actually really surprised with it. There was nothing like that at all. So I was really pleased with that. Okay, so that's the ground sheet. Right, now the bivy bag, right, now I paid 20 quid for this, 19.99 off a mountain warehouse, and as I say, the weekend it was -2, and I was having my doubts about it. I think the simple fact that I've paid £20 for a bivy bag, you kind of think to yourself that you need to be paying maybe more money for one than what you really are. So I bit the bullet, because I didn't actually look at it. I literally bought it offline, read a few reviews on it, and I'll tell you what, I was quite pleased with it. Now, I kept checking it in the evening. When I actually, even before I went to bed, I literally just laid my sleeping bag. All my gear was laid out as it was. and I went over and I kept checking it just to make sure it was all right. Now, what I did find was that I initially put my hand in there and I was in shock. I was like, oh my God, it's soaking. But it wasn't. It had nothing to do with that. It was literally the coating that's on the inside. It was just cold. And it was sweet. I got up in the morning, I had no condensation on it at all. Obviously checking it out through the night. I mean, obviously if my head was inside, okay, you know, obviously it's going to condensate on the inside. It would do that with a Gore-Tex bivvy bag. It would do that with the top end materials. So it worked for me personally. I mean, Barney was using the type of bivvy bag that he used, and when he got up in the morning, he had wet spots, condensation marks all over his sleeping bag where his bivvy bag got wet. Okay, so you know, there it is. I think it's just horses for courses. I think you just got to be a little bit lucky. I've never really suffered with much condensation issues. Some people suffer with their feet inside their sleeping bag. They condensate in the bottom, their feet get really hot, and so on and so forth. So maybe it's just down to the workings of the individual, who knows. But I was really pleased with this for 20 quid. It's going to go back in my kit, obviously because of the compactness of it. The weight of it was 376 grams. Okay, and it's literally just going on my food scales that are in the kitchen. 376 grams, and it packs down to nothing. Obviously it's got the jaw corded lid on, jaw corded tab on it. Now it's like I don't know what the material. It's not. It's almost like a ripstop kind of material, I suppose. And it really is. It's just the coating on the inside, as I say, makes it feel a bit cold. But when I was in there, it was actually quite fine. Now, the only thing that I like to do is I like to put my mat inside my bivvy bag. Maybe because it's just something that I do, you know, maybe it's something that I do because I don't use a ground sheet. But maybe next time, which segues nicely into the actual mat, that when I actually slotted I put the mat inside the bivvy bag, and it was just a little bit tight. It was a little bit sort of snug there. So obviously having my mat inside there as well, you know, made the bivvy bag a bit snug when I was turning all the rest of it. So maybe now, because I'm using a ground sheet, what I'll do is I'll put my mat on the outside of the bivvy bag and see how I get on with that. I mean, I dare say it'll be a better option. All right, so that's the bivvy bag. So 20 quid that was, and I've got to admit it weren't bad. So I mean, again, it was only the first sort of overnight that I did with it. You know, it was -2. And it was sweet. I didn't suffer with any sort of condensation in it or anything like that. It was okay. All right, so that's the bivvy bag. Okay, so now we segue onto the segue. Now let's sidetrack onto the actual mat. Now, the mat weighs 529 grams. Okay, according to my scales in the kitchen. All right. Now this I purchased from Decathlon. All right, I saw them sort of hanging up in the shops, a load of them all blown up, and then I looked at the first thing I looked at some of them was the packet, was how small they were. All right, and I thought, oh, okay, that sort of ticked a box in me, and I thought, oh, it's lovely, nice and compact. I looked at the particular one, which this is by Class. Okay, it's a 700 ultra compact air structure. Okay. I'll read the spiel off it. It says that it's guaranteed for 2 years. Packed, it says it's 1.7 litres and it weighs 510 grams. Matt and I made it 529, so there you go. So that's the manufacturer's kind of their view on it. As I say, 6'3", I was all right in it. You know, I was okay on it. What I did do is, obviously, because it was inflated, it was out in the shop. I chucked it down on the floor in the shop and laid on it. Let's see what it was like on a flat, you know, sort of a flat surface. And I thought to myself, well, you know, it was, you know, I'm going to be kipping most of the time on a leafy kind of floor anyway. I don't intend kipping on rocks and stuff like that. So it kind of ticked the boxes. So was it all right? Yeah. I mean, my first impressions of it was all right. I'm kind of over the years, I've used roll mats, you know, just the foam mats. I've used Z beds. I've used camping beds, you know, like the ones on frames. I've for years and years and years, I used a Thermarest 3/4 length mat, and then eventually one of my mates lent me his X-Bed down mat, and I used that, and that was just a game changer for me. So I ended up buying one of those. So in comparison to something like that, you know, the X-Bed, I mean, if I'd taken the X-Bed mat with me that weekend, the previous session that I'd done, the day sack challenge, if I'd taken that and then taken my other sleeping bag, I'd have been toasty, you know. And it was fine, you know, it was absolutely fine. I was quite pleased with the mat, you know, so it weren't too bad at all. Now, it depends what your comfort rating is, really. I mean, as it goes, you know, I was using, the sleeping bag that I was using was by Snugpak. Okay, that's just the, I'm using a Softy 3, so that's a real lightweight bag. It says it goes down to about 0. I'm quite a fan of Snugpak sleeping bags. I have been for years. I've had them for years. I've got two types. And what I wanted to do, because obviously, excuse me, I'm going down that, as you well know, I'm trying to go down that compact lightweight route. What I wanted to see was how far I could go, you know, with the temperature dropping with me using this sleeping bag and still being comfortable. And I was all right. I slept okay. I just kept my fleece on top. I stripped off down to me, you know, I stripped off down to me undercrackers. I didn't sleep didn't have no trousers on or anything. I mean, normally if I was using my bigger rucksack, I would have a set of long johns in there, spare pair of socks, and obviously a woolly hat just to use as my pajamas, as it were, or my nightwear. But I didn't. Okay, and to be quite honest, I was all right. You know, that was okay for me. All right. So, and the reason why I've obviously gone for that because of the size, because it packs down reasonably well and keeps it organised in one of these zip bags, that, you know, by David Fryers. Okay, so. And then finally, okay, what I did do inside my sleeping bag is that I've used my my fleece liner, again by Snugpak, and that just takes it up, a notch, kept it lovely and warm. It's nice to get into a nice fleecy liner because it's nice and cosy. All that was missing was my teddy bear, and I was really snug as a bug. Really, wasn't too bad at all. Okay, now the only other thing I do take is a pillow. Now you probably would have seen in past videos that I use a pillow. This one's by Sea to Summit, and it's a Air Rose pillow, premium large, and packs down to just about bigger than a tennis ball. All right, and I literally just slot that inside the bag there with my liner. To keep that set up, you know, to keep it all set up. So really, so what I've got then is my a DPM pouch with obviously my liner and my pillow in it, and then my sleeping bag is in the other one, and then on top of that I've then got the Bivi bag, okay, the sleeping bag the sleeping mat, the ground sheet, and then finally the Bivi bag. Okay, so that's sort of like my kit. I mean, when you think about it, you know, your sleeping system really does take up a lot of your rucksack, and that was one sort of formula for me. I was even contemplating on looking at the sort of like the sole kind of, like, you know, bags and stuff like that, but I'm really sort of a bit hesitant on using something like that. So this is, I think, to me, is about my limit. So, you know, I'm going to kind of continue with that now and see how I get on. All right, so there it is, folks. All right, so I hope that video has been a little bit informative and has answered some of your questions with regards to the weights and what I thought of some of the kits so far. I mean, it's still early days. I mean, the mat, the Bivi bag, the ground sheet, and so on and so forth is still early days for me, you know, until I really want to sort of put my stamp on it. But so far, I'm quite pleased. I think they're quite good bits of kit. They held out really well, but it was really just an overnighter, and the temperature was only -2. So would I take it down any lower? Who knows? I would push the boundaries on it just to see, okay, just to see what the tolerance levels would be, and obviously my tolerances as well to the cold. But you know, it's been okay so far. And then obviously if it gets too cold, then obviously I'd resort to a bigger rucksack and obviously take slightly more kit than what I'd need to, or I could maybe stick to the same gear and just build a long fire outside my tarp. you know, who knows? So there's always ways around it. All right, so thanks for watching, folks. Again, please leave your comments and suggestions. I'd like to thank everyone so far that's been listening to the podcast. I think getting quite a few listeners at the moment. It's still in its early days, but please sort of share it for me if you don't mind, and go over there and listen. I've got some future ones coming up. I'm going to be interviewing some people. Nobody famous. It ain't going to be Ray Mears or anyone like that. It's literally just people within the sort of in the circles of my friends. It'd be nice just to have one-to-ones and talk about their interest in the outdoors and stuff like that. All right. So as I say, check the description down below as usual. We'll have all the links and all that sort of stuff to certain parts, certain equipment and all the rest of it that's available. All right. So Descattys signing out. I'll see you on the flip side, and please take care. All the best, folks. Laters.